Hi everybody, this is Tim, and today we are talking about the books that I read in June 2026. So, my goal was to get this video posted before I went on a cruise earlier this month, but that did not happen. For June, I was reading books that were basically gay books, so LGBTQIA plus characters or written by authors that are part of that community. So in my perfect world, June was gay books, July was numbered books, but the cruise kind of threw a wrench into things. So I read several books in June and then didn't get to a few that I wanted to, but I thought they'd be perfect to read on the cruise. So I took them on the boat with me and I did read them and I vlogged it. So I will have a vlog coming out soon, hopefully. And they were gay books, but then I had a few others that weren't. And so I was going to have this reading wrap-up be June plus the cruise, but now we're halfway through July and I haven't even started numbers, which was my goal for July, was to start doing numbered books again. So if I start July, my reading wrap-up for July will probably not include that many. So basically, I'm just going to go ahead and do June's reading wrap-up today, talk about the books that I actually read in June, and then in my July reading wrap-up next month, there will be a few gay books, a few books that I read on the cruise, and then I'll start the number series. But enough talking, let's get on with the wrap-up. So as I mentioned, I have 9 books to discuss today. I will start with, over here. They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is a YA romance that came out in 2017. And I had heard of this book. I found it at Goodwill for a few dollars. Or actually, I found it at Value Village, it looks like, for $3. So when I saw it, I grabbed it immediately. And this, I don't read a whole lot of YA, but I do like it. This was a wonderful book to start the month of June with, and it was 5 stars. I could not get enough of it. There are more in this series and by this author. Adam himself is gay, so it's kind of it counts twice because there are gay characters and the author is gay. But yeah, it was a 5-star book for me. This is about 2 young boys or teenagers living in this world where, like at midnight, people get a phone call and that call tells them you will die today. It's kind of like a customer service that is provided to just kind of let people know, oh, you're gonna die today, so just FYI. And in this world, there are different apps you can download. There are people that are like trying to make the most of their last day. There are people that decide not to tell anybody that it's their last day. It's a very interesting premise, and you can go a lot of different places with it. And there are more books in the series, like in the world that this exists in, so I definitely want to read more. I found it pretty interesting. And so these 2 young boys each get a call telling them you'll die today, which is why it's called They Both Die at the End. And then they end up meeting and spending the day together. And so it's just a really sweet book, and I sobbed. I have not cried that much since my grandmother died like 12 years ago. So it was a really good book. The next gay book that I read in June was Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. So this book is a thriller that came out in 2021. As lighthearted and fun and romantic that book was, this one was the other end of the spectrum. It follows 2 fathers that are both ex-cons, and their 2 sons are married to each other. And the sons are murdered, and so these 2 dads kind of go on a revenge quest to avenge their sons. And it's not horror, but there is some action and some gore that happens, so definitely very different from that book. But I gave this one 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed the read. It was my first book by S.A. Cosby, and it was just fun going on that adventure with these 2 dads. They have difficult relationships, or they had difficult relationships with their sons before they passed, and so now it's this journey that they both go on kind of emotionally, and definitely probably could use some therapy, but they manifested instead through violence, and I definitely enjoyed the ride that this one took me on. The next book that I read in June was We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer. I think I pronounced that right. This book is following a couple of girlfriends, like one couple of girlfriends who move into this house, and one day a family knocks on the door and they say, hey, this is the house I grew up in. We used to live here. Can I just show my family around? And the woman that answers the door is a little hesitant, but says, okay, come on in. And then some weird things start happening. And so it's definitely an interesting book. Marcus Kliewer is also gay. So again, it's a gay author with gay characters. This one is a psychological horror that came out in 2024. So it's somewhat new. I think it kind of made the rounds a couple years ago. I gave this book 2.5 stars. It was a little disappointing for me, which is kind of my barometer. Like if it's disappointing, I do 2.5. And it kind of got a little fever dreamy. Like I'm okay if things go on a wild ride as long as they get tied up and questions are answered at the end. And this just kind of was a little too much like Lost, the TV show for me, where you just don't really know what's going on. And characters kind of did some weird things. And so I enjoyed reading it, but it was definitely a bit disappointing. So I'd recommend it if you like psychological horror. I've also never read psychological horror before, so maybe that's just what this is, and that's not for me. I don't know. I would read more by the author, and I definitely liked some of the characters. It was interesting. I was very interested. It just wasn't satisfying at the end. I had a bunch of questions, and I kind of went on this journey, and I just wanted more at the end of the day. The next book I picked up was Lot Stories by Bryan Washington. So Bryan is also gay, and I found this book at Goodwill, actually. It was a book of the month, and I've been trying to collect those. I've got my little shelf. Where is it? How can I do this? My little shelf right here with all the book of the month books. And so I just grabbed this. I kind of glanced at the inside cover. So it says it takes place in Houston. It's the son of a black mother and a Latino father. And it's a coming-of-age story. He's kind of taking some licks from his brothers and resenting his older sister's absence. And then he's discovering that he likes boys. And so I was like, okay, a nice coming-of-age story. That should be good. So I picked this up and read it next. And I'm sorry to say I did DNF this book. I think what it is it's the stories aspect. This is a short story compilation, and I only read as far as this first paragraph to talk about, like, he likes boys. I didn't read anything else, so it does kind of go on to say there are other characters, and so each chapter is kind of a different short story, I guess, and I read several of them. I mean, I didn't give up after, like, the first page or anything. I probably made it, I don't even remember how far. I probably made it like 20 pages or something like that. Like, I mean, at least the first 4 or 5 chapters. And it just didn't grip me. The characters didn't seem to be connected in any way. And then again, I think it's just short stories. I don't think they're supposed to be connected. I think that I just didn't really know what this was when I picked it up. And I don't really like to read short stories. I want to get lost in a story. And so the jumping around and trying to keep track of which character we're talking about and what's happening just didn't really do it for me. And I think I because of the way I'm reading right now, where I've got a huge list of books that I want to get to meet that theme for the month, I kind of felt like, well, I don't want to waste time on this if I'm not enjoying it. I have so many other books I want to get to. So I did DNF it, but I would probably try it again if I was in a different mindset. Like if I'm in a little, like this would have actually probably been good to take on the cruise and try reading. I did not, but maybe I'll hold on to it and try it again later. We'll see. I didn't not like it. I wasn't in the mood or the headspace to read it when I was trying to, and it felt like a chore, so I just put it down. But this came out in 2019. I should probably mention that as well. So 2019, Bryan Washington. This is his debut as well. And so like I said, it's not bad. It just wasn't really for me at the time. He has published other books since then, like actual novels. And so I think I would pick up some books by him. I like to read them. But I'm going to put this one away and maybe come back to it. So coming off of the 2.5 star for We Used to Live Here and then the DNF, I was kind of like, oh, I really want to get back on track. I feel like I'm in a reading slump. And so the next book I picked up was Less by Andrew Sean Greer. I don't know, it's a little blurry. I'm sorry about that. This book I got at Goodwill. I picked it up. It's about a gay novelist who has published a book or two or something, and he's supposed to be submitting his latest novel to be published, and he's kind of, I think, probably has writer's block or something. He ends up going on this multi-country tour to like promote his book, or something like that. And it's kind of dual timeline because you go back into his past and explore relationships that he's been on, and then kind of come back to present day. And I don't know. There was something about him. This is a 2020. Nope. This is a 2017 satirical novel, apparently. And so maybe something about it rubbed me the wrong way, and I did give it 2 stars. It might be that it's satirical, actually, now that I realize that's what this is classified as, because maybe I didn't read it with that perspective. But it didn't seem super funny. It seemed a little lighthearted, and it seemed to be kind of blasé about, like, the content. I don't know. It's hard to describe it, but it's hard to describe it without giving anything away. But not a whole lot really happens. It's not a thriller. It's not a mystery. It's just kind of like a novel. The character's okay. Maybe the issue for me was that the main character wasn't completely, like, immediately someone I was rooting for or cared about. I don't know, I felt like you didn't really get to know him that well. A little bit you did. And people have loved this book, so I don't know if I'm just missing something again. Maybe I was in a weird reading slump. I had just read a couple of disappointing books, and then this one didn't immediately grip me either, so it could just be that I wasn't in the mood to read this, and I forced myself to, and so I don't know. But I gave it 2 stars. I just felt like it wasn't enough. What did I even say in my review? Let me look that up real quick. Okay, so yeah, I guess I forgot that this took me a week to read. This is not a long book. This should have taken 2 days, but it was a chore to read for me. I did find some moments relatable. You know, I'm almost 40 and I'm gay and I'm single, so some of the things that he was going through and thinking about gave me pause to resonate and think, and I did appreciate that, but it didn't really go beyond that, and it just felt like the story was glossed over for the most part. It kind of felt like a short story that got stretched into a novel, maybe. I don't know. But it just wasn't it for me, you guys. And I'm always seeing this book at thrift stores, so I'm feeling like I'm not the only one that felt this way. So after the last couple books, I was ready for something a bit more thrilling, and I picked up The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. So this book did not follow a gay character, but was written by a gay author, A.J. Finn. It is a 2018 thriller. And so, yeah, I kind of just felt like, I'm going to give this a go. It totally sounds like something that's right up my alley and that I would love. And after a few rough books and being in a reading slump, I mean, gosh, that one taking me a week, I kind of felt like I was spinning my wheels in the mud, maybe. So I picked this one up, and I flew through it. It is about a woman who is kind of agoraphobic, and she's at home and doesn't like leaving her house, and she witnesses something through the window at her neighbor's house, and then no one believes her, and so it's that trope, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. And as I was reading it, immediately it felt very familiar, which I kind of thought was just because the trope of somebody seeing something through their window. But then it occurred to me, I have read this before. I read this years ago, probably when it came out, honestly. And what's doubly funny about that is, as I've been doing my book cataloging at the house, I have an app and I'm just scanning the books and logging where they are stored, which bookshelf are they on, because my mom has a bunch of books, my dad has a bunch of books, I have a bunch of books. And so during that process, we had this book 3 times. And so I kept the nice hardback and got rid of the other ones. But I guess I have it 3 times because I owned it from when I read it the first time, and then my mom bought it and had it, and then I bought this one again, probably at a thrift store or something. So I felt like, even though I had read it before and kind of remembered the big twist, it was fun to reread it, and I was still on the edge of my seat, and the reveals, and I was still surprised by some things that happened, so I didn't remember everything. And so I was like, gosh, I have read this already, forgot about it, years went by, and then had just as good of a time reading it again. So to me, that must be a good book, which is why I gave it 4.5 stars. Apparently there's some drama with the author. I don't remember the details. I did come across it to the point where it's like, do I want to read this? But I don't make a huge effort to be an ethical consumer. So I was like, that wasn't the hill I wanted to die on or anything. So I was like, well, I have it already. I have it 3 times. I should probably read it. And so, yeah, I don't really remember the details. I guess he was a bit controversial. Maybe he like made some claims that weren't true. I think he said he had cancer or something. This is a pen name for him, and I don't know if he's written anything else. But I enjoyed this book. And it felt really nice to get out of that reading slump that I was in. That one definitely pulled me out of it, for sure. So then the next book I read was This Is How It Always Is by Laurie Frankel. And this is a novel that came out in 2017. So Laurie is not a member of the Alphabet Mafia, but wrote this book about a family, and one of the children in the family was born male and immediately started showing signs that they identified as female. And it explores that really beautifully, going from, is this just a phase? Is my 5-year-old child just kind of playing? Or like, how deep does this really go? And how public do we want to be about it? And, you know, do we want to force anything, or do we embrace it? And how do we navigate this? And so I thought that was very, very interesting, and again, beautiful. And I just loved this book. I gave this book 4 stars. I don't remember why I didn't give it 5. Let me read my review to find out. Okay, I put it in the very first sentence. I really enjoyed this book. The writing style prevented it from being 5 stars for me. It was a bit too stream of consciousness, and I had to reread several parts for context. Okay, yeah. And I would have liked more time in part 2. So yeah, this book is kind of broken up, I think, into 2 or 3 parts. And I think it just, yeah, maybe the pacing, I wanted more at times, and I felt like we were getting too much at other times. So there was just something unbalanced about it. So yeah, I think it's a solid 4, though. Like, I loved this book. And I mean, honestly, it's kind of nitpicking, I think, to not give it 5. Like, if I was doing it just on vibes, it would be a 5-star, I think. I think it was beautiful and a wonderful story. But I think, yeah, maybe some of the mechanics or the craft, the writing craft, maybe just the way they were telling the story, honestly, I think kind of gave me a few roadblocks, just because I did have to reread a few things. So, but this is a fantastic book. Definitely recommend it. 4 stars. In fact, I just saw that book at Goodwill. It was a nice hardcover copy, and I was like, do I buy this as a trophy? I mean, although I like this cover better, honestly, and I didn't plan to reread it, so that's why I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna leave it for someone else to read. So I did have to make that choice of, do I want to bring that hardcover home as a trophy? But this one is in good shape. It's fine. So the next book I picked up was a brand new one, 2026 release by Stephanie K. Clemens. It's called Side Quest. I'm sorry to say this was also a DNF for me. So it's a beautiful book. Look at those sprayed edges. It's brand new. There's a new bookstore in town that is like a romance bookstore with plants. It's a kind of a neat place, and I wanted to support the new business. So I went and I bought this book. Janelle got one too. So we bought them like full price, brand new, just to support the store. So I'll just read you the back to kind of show what drew me in. Listen, this is supposed to be simple. Kaylin Thorne, professional assassin, expert brooder, collector of emotional scars, had one mission: kill the king. Straightforward, efficient, the sort of thing you can check off before lunch. But somewhere between the exploding ale trials, the cursed inn, and the incident with the goat — why are there so many goats? — Kaylin accidentally acquired a travel companion. Tobias, a bright-eyed mage with a suspiciously soft heart and a tendency to monologue about feelings. Let's see here. Skipping down a little bit. Now, dear reader, our dear assassin finds herself knee-deep in other people's problems, which, as it turns out, are harder to stab than advertised. There will be quests, there will be chaos, there will be feelings. And Kaylin's tragic attempts to avoid them. Will she save the realm? Probably, but not intentionally. She might just save herself, between side quests, snark, and the occasional dagger to the heart. Side Quest is a cozy, chaotic fantasy for anyone who's ever tried to stay on mission and ended up adopting a mutt, a mage, and a moral compass instead. So yeah, it sounded kind of fun, just a little quirky and different. And I got into this a couple chapters. It's just a little too scatterbrained, I think, for me. I could not get into it. It seemed like she would start something and then immediately get interrupted. I mean, to be fair, the book tells you that's what's going to happen. It was a little too bonkers for me. Yeah, so in my review, I wrote that I made it 30 pages. I thought the writing style used too many asides. I said that the vibes were similar to a series of unfortunate events, but that it felt forced at times, and the main character is 30. So I think this kind of would have been really good as like a YA, but because it was a 30-year-old, it felt a little weird. And by 30 pages, it seemed like a lot had happened, but that nothing had happened, and the narrator was all over the place, so they lost me. So yeah, this book was just a little too much for me. It could also be that it was just my mood at the time, because again, I've had a rough month of rough books, and I, again, was trying to get through as many as I could, and I had others pending that I wanted to read, and so because this one didn't immediately captivate me, I put it down and moved on. So maybe I would try this again in the future. I think I am more likely to try a lot again than I am this one. But at the end of the day, I supported a brand new bookstore, and that's fine with me. I think I had read that this book has a non-binary character, which is why I included it in my gay month books. But by 30 pages, I hadn't gotten there yet. Or maybe I did and forgot because there was so much happening. I don't know. But that's why I was reading it this month. And that's why I didn't finish it. The last book to talk about today is How to Sleep at Night by Elizabeth Harris. And this book is a 2025 novel that came out. I gave this book 4 stars. So I didn't even write a review about this one. I think I must have finished it I think I finished this on June 30th. No, when did I finish this? I finished this on June 28th, and I wanted to try to get to the next book to try to finish it by the end of the month. I didn't. So I don't think I wrote a review about this one, but I did like it. And this follows the perspective of 4 characters, and 2 of them are a gay married couple. One of them is a high school teacher, and the other one is in politics, but he's running as a Republican. And so what does that mean for their relationship? And how do they navigate that? And then there's another second or B story that's kind of like that includes 2 women, and one of them is a sister of one of the married guys. So that's a teaser of what it's about. And so one of the questions I think that's asked is, how do you sleep at night if you're running as a Republican? So yeah, just kind of exploring these different relationships and the thought processes these characters are having. Like, it's not a mystery, not a thriller. It was just a nice novel with a fun story, and I gave it 4 stars. So these are the 9 books that I tried to read in June. A couple of DNFs, a couple disappointing scores, and then a couple that were really fun to read. And I think that the disappointing ones made me appreciate the good ones even more. So even though I was all over the place for June, I think it was a good month. And I, attempted 9 books. I would have liked to have gotten a little bit farther, if I didn't take a week on less. That could have maybe gotten me at least 1 more in there. I did start a book in the last 2 days of June, but I didn't finish it, and I took it on the cruise and finished it there. So that will be covered in my July reading wrap-up and my cruise reading vlog that I will work on editing and getting posted soon for you guys. But like I kind of already mentioned, July is supposed to be the numbered books, but we're a little bit all over the place in July. And then I think I'm gonna keep going with numbers into August, which is another reason I'm not too worried about starting numbers late in July, because we've got plenty of time. So comment below if you've read any of these books or if you want to read any of these books, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.